Hey guys, it's Starlight, and welcome to my next video for Neo-pagan November, started by Brittany, the Sunshine State Witch, and the prompt for this video is darkness. I mentioned in the first video, when the prompt was light, that I wanted to drop the conversation and pick it up later. So here we are. Let's continue the conversation, shall we? Let's talk about darkness. I mentioned before that I feel the happiest and the most myself during the later half of the year, and I feel like a lot of witches prefer the darker half of the year, but I know there's some of us out there who definitely thrive in the lighter half of the year. Which do you prefer? Do you like the darker half of the year or the lighter half better? Feel free to share in the comments, I'd love to know. So I think some of us like the later half better because the sun's out for longer and the weather's nice and warm. There's a lot more stuff to do. I feel like people are more active during the summer and in the later half of the year than they are in the winter. During the darker half of the year, a lot of us spend a lot more time at home because there's not as much stuff to go out and do, so that often leads to the opportunity for reflection and self-reflection, because there's not a lot of other stuff keeping us occupied, so we have a lot more time for that, and we might be thinking about the later half of the year, what was successful, what wasn't, and what you want to work on next year for the later half of the year. And so often you're sitting with your thoughts and your feelings regarding yourself, and sometimes that can be hard. You know, it's sometimes we think and see stuff that we don't like about ourselves, but the winter is a great time for shadow work and to work on those things. I really don't like to do shadow work during the later half of the year because, like, I want to enjoy it and while it's there, so I try to focus more on that during the darker half of the year. So here we go again with the balance thing, right? So with the later half of the year, you're more active, and the darker half of the year, it's more quiet and you're taking more time to rest, and sometimes the mind and body really require that rest, and the darker half of the year gives us that opportunity to do that. So there's definitely a lot of benefits to both halves of the year and really bringing that balance to the outer self and the inner self. I hope that I'm making some sort of sense and not just like rambling. So I do want to talk a little bit about my experience with mental health during the darker half of the year, so if that's something that bothers you or triggers you in any way, please stop the video now. I have seasonal affective disorder, and it's caused by the darker half of the year, so I start to notice it a few weeks after the summer solstice, and it's starting to look a little bit darker each night by then, and I'm just like, alright, this sucks, but okay, whatever. So after the autumn equinox, it's really noticeable by then, and it really starts to suck and sink in, and usually it gets progressively worse from there as we go into the darker half of the year more and more. So it can often be really difficult and a struggle for me because my SAD gives me tiredness almost to the point of lethargy, where I just dread getting out of bed and I have to like force myself and make myself anyway, which isn't easy, and sometimes I just cave in and stay in bed, which isn't good. But oh, I almost blew out my ambiance. And I also feel lack of motivation during this time, and it's really bad when I don't enjoy the things that I used to. So like video games, if I'm not in the mood to play a video game, there's definitely something wrong. I feel not necessarily less witchy, but it's harder to stay motivated and do the things that I want to do. My mood definitely suffers because I'll go into varying states of depression to where, okay, it's bearable, to kind of like extreme where it's really hard to cope. It's been going on for quite a while, so I know the signs to look out for when it's starting and how to make it a little bit easier and how to deal with it better. I'm learning more and more about it every year. And I've been working with the ice giantess, Scotty. So she's a goddess in the Norse pantheon. She is the goddess of winter, and she's taught me so much about myself and finding the strength to get through it. There's so many lessons that I learned from her, and I want to share a little bit with you. So I've learned to find ways to make the season enjoyable, whether that's having a nice cup of hot cocoa or finding beauty in the snow and stillness in the quiet of winter. There's so much magic in the darker half of the year, especially in winter, because the snow helps to transform the land, where I live anyway, into something new. And it's fun to just adventure out into the snow and explore. It's taught me how to be playful. I love to play with my puppy Luna. Well, she's not a puppy anymore, but I like to take her out into the snow and throw snowballs with her. She loves to catch them. I love to take winter walks and work some ice magic, some snow magic, winter magic in general. Scotty definitely taught me to embrace winter instead of fighting the cold and darkness. I also learned through Scotty and the cold and darkness to value and appreciate things more. I appreciate my home and the warmth it brings. It shields me from the cold. It taught me to appreciate fire a lot more. Warm and cozy blankets, snuggling with my dog and my husband. She definitely taught me to be grateful and focus on the warmer aspects that winter brings. So yeah, I really hope that this helped anyone out there struggling with SAD, and I hope that you enjoyed this little story. So it was a lot of fun to talk about it. And what do you think of when it comes to darkness? I would love to know, so feel free to share. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, blessed be, and I hope to see you really soon in the next one. Bye!